In this video, I will show you how to print a particular pattern using for loop. First, I will show you the pattern. So this is the target pattern I am going to print. Like in my first row, I am going to print one star. In second row, two stars. In third row, three stars. In fourth row, four stars. In fifth row, five stars. In sixth row, six stars. In nth row, n number of stars. I will show you again. In row 1, 1 star. In row 2, 2 stars. In row 3, 3 stars. In row 4, 4 stars. So this is our target pattern going to be print. This is the pattern, means arrangement of the particular items like in row and column combination using nested loops, nested for loops. So we all of us know that loop is helpful to run the same set of statements multiple times based on our requirement. So our requirement is printing the following pattern. I will show you through a program. Open the software editor, create new source file, include the header file, start the main function. Now, first we need to think about how many variables that are declared. So one variable is how many number of rows we are going to print. If you see here in the output screen, there are four, according to this example I am saying, there are four number of rows are required. Four number of rows are required. So that number we need to collect from the user. So int n. So this will be assigned at runtime by the user. So for that, we will ask user to enter a number. So we will provide a message to the end user, enter a number, /n for entering in the new line. We will capture the value that is entered by the user. It is an integer number, so use the format specifier %d and separate with comma and use &n to cache the value that is entered by the user at runtime. So here we need a requirement of nested for loop. The outer for loop, nested for loop means writing the for loop within another for loop is called nested for loop. That means the inner for loop is used to refer the columns. Outer for loop is used to refer the rows. I will show you how it will happen. For initialization, condition, I plus plus. As I told you that outer for loop is used to refer the number of rows. According to that example, we are going to give n value as 4. So this loop will run 4 times. Means 4 rows it is pointing to. After entering to the row, again we need to create one more variable for the inner for loop. So this j is also a control variable. So here we are using variable I and variable j, two more variables. So we have to declare them at the beginning itself. Any variables that we need to declare, those should be declared after beginning of the main function immediately. So I need three variables. One is n, how many number of rows are required. Another one is row control variable. Another one is column control variable. So how I am controlling the column? If you observe the output, how many number of stars are printed in first row? Only one. How many number of stars are printed in row 2? 2. How many number of stars are printed in row 3? 3. How many stars are printed in row 4? 4. That means the number of stars are equal to the number of rows, number of particular row. Suppose this loop is matched with I. So why I kept the condition j less than or equals to means when I is equals to 1, this inner for loop runs only one time, means it is going to print only one star. When I value is equals to 2, then this loop will run two times, means it will print two stars. When I value is equals to 3, it prints three stars like that. I will show you. So inside the for loop we need to enclose the logic. Our aim is to print star symbol, a plain star symbol, that's it. Very simple. So using nested for loop. So here this is called writing for loop inside another loop is called as nested for loop. This is called as outer for loop and this is called as inner for loop. Just I will highlight them using comment lines. This is outer for loop. It is outside. That's why it is called as outer for loop. This is inside, so it is called as inner for loop. Outer for loop points rows. Inner for loop points columns. Okay. Yes. So I'm going to save this program. This is my first pattern. I'm going to print a particular pattern using nested for loop. After saving, we have to compile using this option. There are an error here. Just I will show you this one. Scanf percentage. So main must return into. Okay. This is for loop close. This is main loop. Main function is closing. So why it is expecting void main? Yes, I'm going to say once again. Yeah, sorry. If you see here, it is saved with the extension .cpp. That is the reason it is raising error. Again, I will save this program. Save as. We have to give .c. Pattern one dots. Yes. Pattern one dot c. Now you can see this. Now it is C. The file extension is .c, so no worries. So won't get errors. Number of errors are 0. Now we can check the output. So first, if I entered 5, 5 row 1 prints 1 star, row 2 prints 2 stars, row 3 prints 3 stars, row 4 prints 4 stars. But all are displayed in the single line. Why? Because I am not separating row wise stars. So that means after printing the particular row elements, immediately we have to apply new line. How can we apply a new line? By using \n, and this statement ends with semicolon. See, after closing the inner for loop, we need to keep apply new line. Why? Because after printing that particular row elements, immediately apply new line method to print the further row information. So for if I entered 6, row 1 prints 1 star, row 2 prints 2 stars, row 3 prints 3 stars, 4 stars, 5 stars, and 6 stars. Okay, if you want to increase the space between the stars, that can be covered with the help of, if you maintain space here inside the double quotes, that will be affected at the time of running our application. You can see we can separate them by maintaining one character space with the neighboring stars. So how we are controlling only why one star is printed only, why here two stars only printed in the row 2, why 3 stars are printed in row 3. So how we control, if you observe here, this is pointing to the row number, and this is pointing to the column number. After some iteration, I value is 3. Now j is less than or equals to 3 and j journey starts from 1. So j is less than or equal to 3 means when I value is 3, this loop will run 3 times. This loop will run 3 times. Like that, each time this will be incremented. If you want to check it, you can check it. I will, for the tracing, for better understanding purpose, just I'm including these lines. These lines are not required. Only we need that pattern only. For better understand what is happening inside the outer for loop and inside the outer for loop I am using. So here I am trying to print the value of I. Value of I. Here inside the for loop I am trying to print value of j. So if I try to print value of j, that will be yeah. Only just I'm trying to print what is happening inside the, when I is equals to 1, how many times this loop runs. So here we need to specify the which variable we are going to print. That is, this statement ends with semicolon. Once we made any changes, immediately save that, compile, and run this application. So first if I entered 6, when I is equals to 1, 1 star printed. When I is equals to 2, 2 stars are printed. When I is equals to 3, 3 stars are printed. When I is equals to 4, 4 stars are printed. When I is equals to 5, 5 stars. I equals 6, 6 stars are printed. This is, I included the value of I as part of the output for your understanding purpose. But to print the actual pattern, we need not include this line. If you want to ignore this line, you can keep this statement in comments. This is for tracing part. What is happening? How the value of I is keep on changing. When I is equals to 1, how many times this inner for loop is running? When I is equals to 2, how many times this inner for loop is running? When I is equals to n, how many number of times this inner for loop is running? So for the better understanding purpose, just I included this statement. So like this, we can print a particular pattern like, and one more pattern is there. One more pattern. This time, if you observe, instead of a symbol star, we are going to print. If row is 1, we are printing 1. If row is 2, we are printing 2, digit 2. If row is 3, we are printing digit 3. If the row number is 4, we are printing row number. So row number is pointed by which variable? Variable I. So instead of star, if you are maintaining, if you are maintaining percentile d and prints I value inside the for loop, inside the inner for loop, you can observe how the output is going to be changed. Compile and run. If I entered 6, it prints like 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5, and 6, 6. But all the digits are very closer. There is no space is maintained between one digit to the next immediate digit. If you want to maintain some space with some specific width, how many? So if I want to maintain 4 character spaces between one digit to the next digit, then that we can use percentile 4d. Suppose if I entered 6, now you can observe the space between one digit to the next digit and upcoming digits. So what are the changes I made in the previous program? Instead of star, I given I. Why? Because I value is 1 for row 1. I value is 2 for row 2. I value is 3 for row 3. I value is n for row n. So in this way, we will display this pattern. Suppose if you want to display another pattern like this, we want to print only one element in row 1. We want to print 1 and 2. We want to print 1, 2, 3 in row 3. We want to print 1, 2, 3, 4 in row 4 like that. Then that can be done with the help of, so how 1 and 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. If you, instead of I, if you change this to J, why? Because inner for loop value keeps on changing beginning from 1 to up to that particular control variable I. Once we made any changes, immediately compile and run the program. You can observe this. When I value is equals to 1, 1 is printed. When I is equals to 2, beginning from 1 up to 2 printed. When I is equals to 3, beginning from 1 up to 3 prints. When I is equals to 5, beginning from 1 up to 5 are printed. If you observe here, this is first row, first column. First row, first, second row, first column, second row, second column. Third row, first column, third row, second column, third row, third column. Fifth row, first column, and fifth row, fourth column, and fifth row, fifth column. Like that, row and column combination kind of arrangement is happened with the help of nested for loop to print the different patterns. So I will show you the patterns. What are the different patterns we printed? These are the different patterns. Star, digits of same digits are repeated in each row, and series of digits beginning from that 1 to up to that particular row number. So in this way, we can print different types of patterns using nested for loop.